Because just moments before this taping, Donald Trump continued his exhaustive search for the most qualified people in his line of sight. And he has chosen anti-vax Nepo maniac Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I know. That sounds insane, but we should all keep an open mind, because that's how the worm gets in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to weave out the lies so we can get to the facts. President-elect Donald Trump has announced that he has nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to become his Secretary of Health and Human Services. In an X post Thursday afternoon, Trump made the nomination, stating that Kennedy would assist him in making America great and healthy again. In his post, Trump emphasized that an administration is responsible for protecting citizens from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, and additives, stating that addressing these hazards is essential to tackle America's serious health crisis. In response, Kennedy expressed gratitude for the opportunity and shared his eagerness to end the health epidemic plaguing America. Trump's announcement comes as no surprise, as Kennedy claimed that the future president would place him in control of the public health agencies during a virtual event last month, as reported by Politico. Kennedy has been a vocal advocate for public health, focusing on reducing environmental toxins and improving transparency in health regulations. His efforts have centered on addressing issues such as pollution, vaccine safety, and corporate accountability, all of which he believes play a crucial role in a healthier America. I mean, here you go, a great example. You must see this. At a roundtable on American health and nutrition, Jason Karp showed the difference between Canada's Fruit Loop cereal and America's. They're literally poisoning our children, and this is exactly what RFK Jr. is talking about. Watch this.
But with artificial food dyes, they have shown all over the world that they can use colorants that come from fruit.
This is the Canadian version.
This is the brightness of the Canadian version, just for visibility. And this is the brightness of artificial food dyes. So, of course, Kellogg and other food companies will argue children prefer this over this, just as they would prefer cocaine over sugar. That doesn't make it okay.
But I think...
Yeah, there has never been any doubt that there are way more Fruit Loops in America than there are in Canada. Everyone with half a brain knows this. It isn't enough of a platform to be trusted as president. However, it would be a great sub-platform or plank. Get corporations out of politics, then something can be done. But anyway, as chairman of the Children's Health Defense, Kennedy has focused on environmental health issues that affect children, such as exposure to pesticides and other chemicals that can harm developmental health. He has consistently argued for stricter regulations to control pollutants that negatively impact both human health and the environment, one of his main motivators for entering the 2024 presidential race. He makes some of the best points, period, when it comes to health or common sense, honestly. I mean, look how he hit back with the best comment ever here.
They are now not able to locate a single pre-licensing safety trial, placebo control for any of the vaccines that are now mandated for children. These are zero liability vaccines. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think we need to be honest and we need to have good science. I spent 30 years trying to get mercury out of the fish in this country, and nobody ever called me anti-fish.
He does have a way with words. During his campaign, Kennedy, along with his running mate Nicole Shanahan, scrutinized the need for certain vaccines, providing research that indicated that some did more harm than good, per the New York Post. He also speculated that additives found in certain vaccines contributed to the country's increased autism rates. While critics have slammed Kennedy, claiming that his vaccine stance is extreme, he has reassured Americans that he is not looking to ban vaccines, but to ensure that proper safety measures are being followed. For example, at a point in this interview here, after he addressed vaccines, he touched on fluoride in our drinking water, which I feel as if that's something most people simply don't know too much about. But to keep it simple, it's poison. I, for one, like the sound of not intaking poison, and quite frankly, I think it's fascinating nobody else thought of about, I don't know, removing it from our water source, maybe? RFK Jr. actually addressed that problem here. Watch this.
We talked about fluoride in the U.S. water supply. You would seek to ban fluoride in the U.S. water supply?
Well, I would advise the water districts that are currently using it that there's a lot of new science out there. And in fact, There's a federal judge decision by an Obama-appointed judge on October 4th of this year in which he sent EPA back to the drawing board and said, you've never done the safety studies on this. And by the way...
And so what does that look like? Without debating, without going back and forth on the science?
By the way,
and what
it's lowering IQ in our children.
What would you, upon January 2025, we're 3 months away here, what would you actually do in your position inside of the White House?
I think fluoride is on its way out.
And how do you make that happen? This is your chance. That's what you're suggesting to me. How would you make that happen?
Listen to what I'm saying, okay? And then I'll tell you.
Okay.
I think fluoride is on the way out because of that court decision. I think the faster that it goes out, the better. I'm not going to compel anybody to take it out, but I'm going to advise the water districts about their legal liability, their legal obligation to their service zones and to their constituents, and I'm going to give them good information about the science, and I think that fluoride will disappear.
Now, maybe I've been living under a rock, but I can't recall any politicians off the top of my head who have come out and said the things RFK Jr. has about our health system and doing massive reform. Never forget that President Trump told Joe Rogan Big Pharma has been pressuring him to not work with RFK Jr. To me, Trump picking RFK Jr. as the head of HHS today shows that Trump is standing up to Big Pharma. Watch this clip.
Anyone that is pressuring you to not work with him, have there been people
to not
that are
work with
reaching
who?
RFK Jr.?
Yes.
Yes, I would imagine, because financially he could put a dent.
I would say that, and I think in many ways they've done a good job, in many ways they've done a bad job. But I would say that the Big Pharma wasn't thrilled when they heard that.
Yeah, I mean, to me this is a good sign. They don't want anyone changing the status quo that has been robbing us not only of our wealth, but also our health. And yes, it's true. Some people have different ideas of what is healthy, so you'll see the mainstream media is losing their minds to the announcement that RFK Jr. will be HHS secretary, the usual suspects like Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert fails to realize that him coming out against RFK just goes to show why RFK was the perfect pick for the position. There is nothing wrong about being upset about a cabinet pick, but intentionally spreading complete disinformation like Colbert does here is pathetic. What's sad is there are some Americans who will watch Colbert tonight and believe these blatant lies. Important we call Colbert out for this whenever he does it. Mainly because this guy right here, I'm guessing, is a better choice to him.
As we look to all the different elections in 2024, I think the next 2 years are going to be challenging, but I am positive and optimistic and hopeful that the wheel will turn after that, and that this issue won't be as politically and socially such a minefield. In the meantime, I can say that the children that you serve, and the young people that you serve, their families, and you all as their providers have support at the highest levels of the federal government. President Biden supports you, and he has articulated that support for the children and families.
Pervert. That's all I see. Just an old pervert. Their idea of health is castrating children and prioritizing that ideology with our tax dollars. And this is why RFK Jr. is absolutely positively qualified and necessary. And if the mainstream media and corrupt medical field don't like it, I love it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, send us a comment, and let us know what you think about the facts here on Facts Only.